Joe presents TKO.
Welcome to TKO on Joe. After quite a start to 2020, we've got a packed schedule on the way over the next couple of months. Wilder Fury 3 in the works. Billy Joe Saunders takes on Canelo. Joshua against Pulev as well. Usyk Chisora, Dylan White and Alexander Povetkin. One lady who's going to be in the mix on April 24th is our guest today. 5-0 prospect with Matchroom Boxing, Shannon Courtenay.
Did you know he was starting there?
No.
There was no warning.
Practicing.
So did I. Was that the start?
That was the start. We're on. We're in. Thanks for coming on.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We were trying to get you on last year, but times and dates and stuff didn't quite line up. But here we are. First of all, nice T-shirt. Welcome, Carl.
Thanks, mate.
Did you get that from our latest trip? Really? Or was that the one before?
The latest trip, yeah.
Well, the latest trip being, the one in the summer.
The one that didn't work out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one.
Good stuff. Right, I want to, just before we start, Shannon, just carry on telling the story.
So I was going to tell a story about what would you do in this situation, right? So he heard like a pellet gun being fired.
I was on my own.
He was on his own in a house in
Philly.
in a rough area.
Nighttime. And we were in the real rough area.
Who's telling the story?
Well, I feel like you're going to undersell it. So I sort of want to chip in where it's relevant.
He's in a rough area in Philly, in an Airbnb, on his own. The guys are out having food, and he hears a gunshot.
Several gunshots.
Several?
Yeah. An automatic weapon.
Wasn't an automatic weapon.
Several.
An automatic weapon, was it? You've never said that.
I left you a voice note with that very information.
There are a lot of helicopters circling our block after a lot of gunfire. So just be very careful when you get back, lads. Heads down, get into the block as quickly as you can, and lock the door.
He went and hid in the bath,
Right,
and phoned his mum.
No, that's such a lie. I didn't phone mum.
Your mum?
Philadelphia.
You told me you phoned your mum.
No,
You're like, listen, mum, I've never
I called
seen
my
you
mum when I
again."
got food poisoning.
Oh, okay.
That was the way you mixed in two stories. Right, hold on. While you were on the plane back with your fat hand, I was in a bath because in the films, that's what they do. If you hear gunfire, you get in the bath. It's porcelain, isn't it? So if a bullet, if a stray comes through the wall, you've got another layer. Oh, whoops! You've got another layer of protection, and that's. I like it as if what was I supposed to do? Lean out the window and go, "Oh, keep it down, lads."
I've never heard of getting in the bath.
In the bath,
That's a
never
new
heard
one.
that. Never heard
Doing
that.
the films, I wasn't cowering in the bath. I wasn't like, I was just in there. I was on my phone and stuff, but I just thought I'll stay in here
So
until.
you was laying flat in the bath?
I was just laying flat in the bath.
Scared, thinking, oh no, I'll voice
Was
note
your head
Carl.
were you underneath, like?
Yeah, I'm not an
the
idiot.
bath?
Yeah, my head was underneath there. There was no water in the bath. It was an empty bath. I was just in the bath, just carrying on doing my research. I wasn't like terrified. I just thought that's the safest.
Hilarious as well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But you act as if I think
It's hilarious. You wouldn't do that. I've heard gunshots.
Yeah, but you didn't grow up in Sevenoaks in Kent, did you?
True.
So
True.
what am I supposed to do? Ring the police? What's the problem? I'm middle class. What you want me to say? Anyway, so Shan, was I right to get in the bath in that? I think that's reasonable.
I personally probably wouldn't think, I know, get in the bath, but if it works, it works.
You two are so ghetto, unbelievable.
You're still alive to tell the story. You dodged the bullet. That's all that matters.
Exactly, yeah, it's embedded in the bath. Right, welcome to TKO. That wasn't the start I expected. So you are 5-0.
I am.
It's your 1 year, we'll say anniversary, but the year of your debut,
Yes.
1 year since your debut. A lot of pressures that came with your debut because to people who weren't necessarily hardcore fans of the sport or didn't necessarily follow the amateurs, you just suddenly exploded onto the scene. Eddie Hearn's given you this opportunity, and then all of a sudden you're boxing in front of massive crowds, loads of attention, but ultimately a lot of pressure.
Yeah, because I didn't come to the table with a gold medal like Katie Taylor did or the other girls that were Olympians. I never went to the Olympics and didn't have hundreds of amateur backgrounds, didn't have that grade. So when I was given the opportunity, obviously I took it with both hands. And some people were like, they would watch me. I'd always, if you knew me, you'd said, yeah, her style was better suited to the professional ranks. If you didn't know me, it's kind of, well, why has she been given this opportunity? She didn't go to the Olympics. So there's a lot of pressure for me to perform, especially in front of a massive crowd. I think it was 10,000 a couple box. So yeah, it was a big night, but I think I held my nerve and done pretty well.
You did, yeah, you did. And of course, any woman that turns over within 3 or 4 years of Katie Taylor turning pro, there's instantly pressure when you're given a big platform.
You're going to be compared to Katie all the time, and I think you have to just perform and you're going to be compared to her, but you have to forget about that and just focus on yourself, I suppose, which it looks like.
Well, I've always said I don't ever want to be compared to Katie because we're just two completely different journeys. She's got that massive background, the medals, the everything, and I'm not that person. I've got that raw, the way I fight is very raw and aggressive, and she's very skillful. So we're very different people, but trying to make waves in different ways, I guess.
And I do a lot of work with Charlie Beat in Adam Booth's gym, and obviously Adam as well. Feel like you're improving all the time. I know you feel like you're physically getting a lot stronger.
Yes.
And from your performances, it looks like you're improving. Do you feel like you've still got a long way to go?
Oh, I've got a long way to go. I'm not ignorant enough to sit here and say I'm ready for titles now, etc. I've got so much to learn, so much to prove as well. But every day I'm getting stronger, faster, sharper. My IQ is getting bigger as well. So just little tricks of the trade I'm learning every day. But I'm still really enjoying it, which is the best thing.
Because of the strength and depth from female boxing to male boxing, you can fight for a world title a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Is it realistic to say you should fight for a world title in your around 10 fights, or is that too soon?
So obviously I'm fighting in about 6 weeks' time. That'll be my 6th fight, and I'm fighting very, very soon afterwards for my 7th. So probably not. I wouldn't say 10, but yeah,
Not far off it.
Yeah, not far off it. Maybe I don't know. Wouldn't know. It's down to obviously Adam and Eddie.
Yeah.
But I'd love to be able to do the traditional route, but obviously that's not there for women to go and do like the British or Commonwealth, the European. There's no British title for women, which is annoying. But I'd like maybe the Commonwealth and then go for the European. I'd like to try and do it as traditional as possible.
You won the Southern Area, didn't you?
As an amateur. I was the first ever non-elite fighter to win it. Yeah.
I was at the fight.
I've done it in I beat GB #1 and I think it was my 12th fight.
Yeah. It was at your call. Yeah, it was a good fight that as well.
She was a Repton girl as well, so she had a big crowd there.
Yeah, I remember it.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, I remember. I feel like I saw you at the Haringey Box Cup. Must have been the year before, 15 or 16.
When I won it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 16 was the Southern Area. So yeah, you've been around for a while, but then obviously coming to the program under the biggest promoter in the UK, biggest TV platform in the UK, and then also signing with one of the most renowned trainers in the country as well, and being in a stable with Josh Kelly and Mick Conlon, and at the time Ryan Burnett. Obviously those have become your friends and your teammates, but at the time that's, I suppose, quite an intimidating prospect, right?
Even to this day, it's still a lot of pressure. It's amazing because you sit there and you learn off them every day, but it's also, in a way, it's also a bit, not frustrating because you can only ever become a product of your environment and you can learn from them, but I'll see the likes of Josh or Mick doing things, I'm like, oh, why can't I do that yet? But then it makes you more determined because you're like, well, I'm going to be able to do that soon. I'm going to be able to get my feet in that position quicker. So you just learn off them. You sit there and you just be a sponge and absorb as much as you possibly can.
You ever remember being in the gym when you were younger, up and coming, and seeing somebody that you really revered and thought, wow?
Yeah. And it was guys who... There was a guy, I remember, there was a guy called Conal Carmichael, who you will never have heard of. Boxed in the Irish, might have been Irish senior champion. And when I was coming up as a kid in the Ulsters and watching all the Ulster fighters, he's from Belfast, so he boxed in the Ulster Championships too. I thought this guy was like Muhammad Ali, and he was like Irish level, but just because he was like the top guy in Ireland, I was like, he was like, not going to say he's my hero, but he was someone who I really admired and thought was like, this guy's unreal, no one can beat him. So there's always people like that, just, and you can use it off anyone. Like, for example, I was a world champion when Josh Taylor joined the same gym that I was at. I felt like I was learning off Josh Taylor. So you can take different bits of different fighters and hopefully put it all together.
Good stuff. It's well documented why you got into boxing, the weight loss and the bad lifestyle choices. But the one thing that we're going to talk about today, which I'm very grateful for, by the way, because we've spoken about it in private, but I understand it's not necessarily the easiest thing to just go and talk about to anybody that you necessarily don't know, and you've got YouTube outlets sort of in your face asking you different questions each and every week. But it's one of the reasons, I suppose, why you were at that place in your life, and a little bit about your childhood up until that point. So the floor's kind of yours with this. You grew up in Abbots Langley. You lived in a pub from the age of 4.
Yes.
So the floor's yours. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
So, grew up with, my dad was Irish, my mum is English, moved into a pub that my granddad used to own. My mum bought it off him. So I moved in there from the age of 4 till 17. So I was constantly around a lot of people all the time, which is probably why people would say to me, does it not bother you being the only girl in the gym and you're constantly around men? But I'm used to it because I've grew up in a pub. So to me, it's not anything new. Grew up in a pub. Things obviously from that point was pretty normal, and then kind of started to notice things weren't normal as you get to about 6 or 7, because my dad was an alcoholic. So I had a pretty rough few years of that. But it's I'm grateful for it because it's now made me who I am. There's a reason that I can fight. There's a reason that I've got the mentality that I do. And it wasn't the greatest start to life, but it's made me a very strong person because of it. And I wouldn't change it, to be honest.
So when you say you started to realise that things weren't right, as a kid, obviously you only know what you know, right, as you grow up.
Yeah.
What were the things that you started to think early? What are your kind of earliest memories of something not being right or something being worrying?
You probably just notice things are normal when you're going home and it's constantly screaming or violence, or just your mum's always unhappy. And I remember like the pub we lived in, it was on a corner of a green, and my real dad would see like my mum's car, because she used to own a driving school as well, so she had like a sign on her roof, Jane's driving. So he'd see her car come around, he'd either down the punt or he'd hide it underneath, thinking that she was idiotic enough to not realise that he was. And she pleaded with him for years to stop drinking, and he become hospitalised numerous times because of it. And just little things, you notice things are normal when you see kids are running out to their mum and dad after school and they're happy families, and yet one night you might get woken up in the middle of the night with your pyjamas on and you've got to go stay in a hotel because it's not safe for you to be at home because your dad's on one. Do you know what I mean? So you realise things, they're not normal, but again, you grow from it and you learn from it, don't you?
That's not little things though. You said it's little things, you know what I mean? So they come out, there's so many stories like this in boxing and you hear it all the time, but you have to look at each individual differently, and I think it's commendable that you didn't, because of like the upbringing you've had. Easily you could have went off the rails and took a wrong direction and maybe just said, I don't give a shit about this. And
I did for a while.
Yeah.
I did for quite a few years, I did. And then boxing's what saved me from continuing it, because I saw the pattern that was occurring because of it. Because my mum, when I was 10, eventually plucked up the courage to say, right, I'm divorcing you. Because she was terrified. We was all terrified of him. He wasn't a nice person. And then he decided that he didn't want me and my brother, that he was like, that was it, I'm done, kind of thing. So we were actually quite happy about it. And then my stepdad come along and took me on when I was 11, called Lee, and he's like the most amazing man in the world. I don't call him dad, but he is my dad. And everything was good, but then you constantly covering up, like the school paid me to have like counselling, anger management, etc. And you're constantly making out you're fine because you don't want to show weakness. And I just started drinking really heavy, smoking really heavy, and it really spiraled out of control. And it was boxing that kind of made me wake up and realise you're going to wind up like your old man. What are you doing? And then that's it, just stopped there and then.
Were you boxing already then?
No.
Or you just got into boxing
Started
because
boxing
of
at
that?
the age of 21.
Really?
I only went to boxing gym to lose weight. It wasn't to... Well, no, it was actually to be actually completely honest. I was working behind a bar, another pub on my own at the time, and the guy that was drinking there had a boxing gym. And he's like, oh, all the girls are come to it. And I turned up to my first session, drunk.
No.
Yeah, and I made out I was going for a wee, and I didn't. I went outside and was sick and had a fag.
In between round 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he was like, you can actually punch quite hard. How comes you know how to fight? And obviously, because of my childhood, I'd kind of experienced fighting as such. So, I don't know. And then eventually they persuaded me to go to Finchley. And they were like, yeah, you're actually really talented. And then that was it. I walked at the gym, threw the fags in the bin, and I'd never smoked a fag since, stopped drinking and sorted my life out.
That's great.
That's amazing. Can I ask a bit about you got brothers and sisters? You said?
I've got an older brother.
Yeah.
And then I've got a little sister, Harriet. We've got a different dad. So my stepdad, Lee, is her dad.
Okay, but your brothers from your...
Yeah, from
biological.
my biological father, yeah.
And out of interest, has he sort of... What's his journey been like compared to yours? Are you quite close with him, or...?
Yeah, he doesn't live near me now. He lives quite far away. But he just won't point blank talk about anything. Very shut off, typical man. Trying to, like, I guess, not mention it really.
Right.
But it'd probably be a lot easier for me as a fighter. Like, I'm just the first one I've ever spoken about it, and I've done hundreds of interviews in the last year to not talk about it, because you're seen as a fighter, you shouldn't show vulnerability, you shouldn't show any sort of weakness. But I think sometimes it is important to actually be able
Of course
to.
it is. And it's not a vulnerability, is
No,
it?
it's not, because in the ring, yeah, you'd like to think you're bulletproof, but people need to realise, and this goes for like social media reasons as well, when we step out the ring, we are just humans. We do feel, we do cry, we do you know what I mean? We have emotions, and sometimes it does get a better of you. So I sit there, and I have done for years, saying, but my dad doesn't bother me, I'm not bothered. No, of course it bothers me. I think about it non-stop, but I'm also very grateful for it as well, because I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for what happened to me. It shaped me as a person.
And I imagine you have a lot of respect for your mum, not only for plucking up the courage to leave your dad, but for doing everything that I know she's done for you over the last, 20 odd years.
Listen, when my mum eventually had enough of the violence and everything else that went along with it, and she did leave him, when he said, I washed my hands, I thought, I want nothing to do with no one. Because we were, at the time, we had a house in Cyprus, so we was living in the pub and in Cyprus, like in between. And we was all going to fly home together back to England, and as we got to the door, my real dad went, not coming, I'm done with you, that's it, kind of thing, and stayed in my mum's house in Cyprus. And when we got back home, my mum, I remember we walked through the door, my mum was like, right, it's us three now, we're going to get through this. Then we found out that he'd left us in an extortionate amount of debt, all through drinking, that we didn't know about. And not once did she ever ask for help, not once did she ever complain. She just worked 24/7. Like, I think she was working at one point like 18-hour days. And me and my brother went to school every day with the best shoes on, the best trainers, best jacket, best bags. We had no idea that she had nothing. And she was working her ass off just to raise us. And she paid it all off. And do you know what? Last Friday, she actually moved into a house on her dream road that she's always said she wanted to live in. And she's done it all on her own. Well, with my stepdad, but she's done it all.
Wow.
So she is an amazing woman.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, because I guess you get to a position like that you're in, you can take care of family and friends around you, people that you care about. You just bought me a pizza, for example. But like you actually in a position where, where your mum not able to do those things, you kind of getting towards that place where you can start to help her out. And that must be an amazing feeling for you to like gift her something. I remember seeing Regis Prograde bought his mum a house after the Taylor fight, and just seeing the videos on there when he surprised her, and just thinking what an incredible feeling that must be. So to be able to pay your mum back, or be on the road to paying your mum back for everything she's done.
To be able to... No, I will do very soon. I'll be able to treat her nicely, and I've got things I've got in place that I want to surprise her and my stepdad with, because he raised me as well, and he's been an amazing man. So when I'm able to do that, it will be an amazing feeling, just to pay her back for everything that she did and put up with for me and my brother. Because she could have walked away as well. It would have been probably a lot easier for her to walk away when he did, but she didn't. She stayed around.
So how do you think then, if you could describe it to me, what are the positives that came out of your childhood that you've taken into boxing? What's it given you, that experience?
I've got a good chin now.
Oh dear.
I guess my relentlessness, because when you've experienced quite a lot of bad things in your childhood, nothing really seems to faze you going forward. So I'm kind of fearless in a way. I guess nothing comes to fight. Some people got that fight or flight. I'll always be fight. So nothing really phases me that way, and I've got a very strong mentality. I'm very determined, but it comes with negatives as well. Of course it does. Like, because weirdly enough, even though the sport I'm in, outside of boxing, I hate violence. I can't even watch violent films. I hate anything like it. It makes my skin crawl. But
yeah,
it's just weird that I chose to get into this career.
This sport though, like, it takes a lot of times a bit of hardship to make the best fighters.
Yeah.
Very few fighters have came from real privileged backgrounds.
Yeah.
And for the most part, fighters who have seen hardship and violence, and they're nice people as well. Maybe because they've seen it, they've experienced it. They don't want other people to see it and experience it. But you hear so many stories like that. Look at even my next opponent, Jamel Herring. His pinned tweet is something like, "I've got post-traumatic stress from fighting in 2 wars in Iraq. He's lost a child. He's got children with autism, and he kind of says boxing's therapy for him." If you use it like that and think of it that
Gives
way,
you something to fight for as well, because if you've always just been handed everything, you don't know what it's like to actually have to earn something and work your arse off. And in boxing, that reveals your character. When you're biting down your gum shield and it's getting really tough in there, that's when your true colours do come out.
Absolutely.
So how do you channel it on the fight night then? Get into that fight mode as somebody. It's not, and obviously, you know, I've known you for a year. You're not confrontational. You're very pleasant to be around. You're great company. But you're on fight night. You go into that beast mode. What's your process?
So I'm all good during the whole day. I'm nervous. Have to FaceTime my mum in the morning, and I feel like I'm all right. And then I turn my phone off, and then I'm pretty chilled out. When we have lunch before the fight, always I ask 100 questions, and they'll tell me stop asking questions.
About what?
About my opponent, or because I don't watch my opponents, do I? I don't watch them, so I'll sit there and ask questions, and then I'll ask, do you think I've done enough this camp, or do you think I'm fit enough? And I know I am, but I need reassurance from my team. And then as soon as we get into the arena, as we're pulling in, something comes over me, and that's it. I'm just a different person altogether. I'm still really relaxed, but you could be talking, I might not even be listening, but I'll be looking at you, but I won't be listening. And then as soon as the music comes on in my change room, I feel loose, and we have this thing, like even in our gym, we have the same playlist every day, and we play it in the change rooms as well, so it's really regimental, and it puts you into a good frame of mind, really. And I feel really happy and controlled and just unfazed. Do you know what I mean? Trying no emotion, really.
Does that ring true to you as well?
Yeah.
You're quite relaxed, really.
I'm very relaxed, and each people are different, and people have a different approach. I like to be chilled, and I like to talk to my team. I don't ask too much about the opponent or the fight, and even I'm not really that switched on, I don't think, until I do a wee bit of a warm-up in the change room and hit the pads and get switched on then I relax again. And when I'm walking to the ring, I'm actually half enjoying the ring walk. It's when I'm in the ring is when I really switch on. There's other people who you can't speak to the whole day of a fight. But that's just each their own different.
Yeah, I
different
used to be like that in the amateurs. I couldn't bear anyone talking to me. I used to have headphones in all the time. I used to be really superstitious. I used to have the same playlist. I used to have to get my car cleaned on that day. I used to have Neil Diamond, Crackling Rosie playing. Like I was really, but then I think Adam kind of broke it out of me and was like, "No, enjoy the process." Like I think it was my debut. He was like, "Enjoy the process, enjoy being there." And then remember just before he was walking out, I remember Adam putting my jacket on me and Bruno Mars come on in the background. I looked at Charlie and he remember him saying to me, "You deserve to be here. Don't ever doubt yourself." Because in my head, if they could see that, I was like, "Oh, but I haven't got an Olympic medal. Why am I here?" And he was like, "You deserve to be here." And I felt instantly okay. And then I always pray before I go out. And then Eddie Hearn come in and I was dancing to Bruno Mars, so I was so chilled out. And he went, "Is she all right? Like, why is she dancing?" They were like, "She's just cool, like she's just chilled." That was it. I'm fine. But when I walk to the ring, I can't see nobody and I can't hear nothing. It's all just pitch black.
Interesting. Talk to me about the last year then, because obviously you've experienced a different level of exposure and I suppose fame, for want of a better word, than you've had at any other time of your life. I know you had a kind of bit of a cult following before through, is it Watford Football Club?
Yeah, from Watford, yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Just because you're a fan of them, and what's the connection
No, I just
there?
think because I grew up in a pub, everyone kind of knows you. And then my granddad owned a pub as well. My uncle owned a pub. So in the village, we owned basically every pub. So everyone knew my family. And so I just had a bit of a following anyway. And then because of my style as an amateur, I was quite exciting. And because I didn't fight like an amateur, I did come forward. I didn't care if you hit me, I was going to hit you twice as hard. And it was just aggressive. People from the amateur days always... Like I remember at the Haringey Box Cup, they had 5 rings and it was packed out. But everyone was dispersed like evenly. The minute my fight got announced, the entire ring, no one else was boxing because everyone come to watch me. So I just got that exciting style. So I think I kind of sprang a following from there. But last year, the fan base has just got, for someone who's only had 5 fights, it's pretty big.
Because you were also, I seem to remember you secured like your own deal with, I want to say Lonsdale originally.
They contacted me about doing a deal after like...
That's before the Matchroom deal, I think.
Way before I did become
yeah.
pro. I think I had like 14, 15 amateur fights and they'd contacted me and...
Something was unheard of, that. Like securing a deal with a sponsor of that size as when you're
as
not
an amateur.
Yeah.
And an amateur, not... You didn't go to any major tournaments or anything. Obviously, it is unheard of, really.
You nearly actually got. It was a funny set of circumstances, time-wise, wasn't it? You signed you signed your pro deal and signed with Adam, and then you got a call from GB, didn't you?
So obviously I'd had weekends up Team GB, and I'd been doing stuff up there. Didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like they were constantly trying to change me, making me a long, tall, upright fighter, which is not what I am. So I didn't really enjoy it. And then I was meant to go back again for more. Didn't turn up. Didn't like it. And then everyone was always like, why hasn't Shannon been called up? Why hasn't Shannon been called up? And then I was meant to fight in Jersey. Took time off work, flew to Jersey. By this point, I'd already been working with Adam. Lost in the ABA finals. Was a bit pissed off. Flew to Jersey, done the weigh-in, and then in Jersey they do a day before weigh-in, which was unheard of in the amateurs. So Adam was in New York with Michael because it was Lomachenko-Linares, and Mick was on the undercard. Weighed in, went with the team for lunch, and it was a London team, and I was captain. And Lenny Hagland, who was the coach, got a call, and they said the girl's not fighting now. So I'd taken time off work, I'd flown there. I remember texting Adam saying, I'm effing done with the amateurs. That's me, I'm done. He went, what's happened? What's wrong? I said, she's pulled out, I've flown here, taken time off work, etc., lost out of money. He said, chill out, calm down, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So then obviously Mick won a one, whatever else. Adam come home, he said, come to my house tonight and do a leg circuit with Josh. And he said, oh, you know, you're going to turn pro, but not yet. We're going to give you another year. I'm not necessarily saying you're going to turn over with me, but I'll help you find the right coach. And so I was like, for like 3 months I didn't sleep because I was like, I don't know where my career's going to go. I want to turn pro, but he's telling me not to. And I don't know who I'm going to go with because I kind of put my trust into this man. And I remember being at work because I was a chef and I was chopping away and my phone text, it was Adam. He said, are you in the gym or are you at work? I said, I'm at work. He said, sit down. I thought, what the hell's going on? So went in my office and I got a text. He sent me some screenshots of conversations between him and Eddie. And he's basically saying, yeah, we're going to sign her, da-da-da. So I rang Adam. I said, you on a wind-up, didn't you? He said, no. He goes, I'm going to sign you as manager, da-da-da. You're going to work with Charlie and me and da-da-da. And that was it. It just all, I went into the office, hand my notice in. It was all just took off from there.
What a day.
You need to stop dropping that pen.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping you wouldn't mention that. But thanks for telling the audience I've dropped it twice.
Wait, that's the third time. Definitely the third time.
Just left it on the floor now because I've dropped it. Yeah, is it the third time? It's staying there. Don't worry about it. What a day for you that must have been. Amazing. And now 5 fights in. Have you had any conversations with Eddie or Adam as to what your plan is? Because obviously you mentioned world title coming up. I've also had a chat with the Sowlands, who I know are quite keen to do a women's tournament, and I think they've got Dina Thorslund and Sophie Alish, who are around your kind of weight divisions.
Well, Dina's super bantam.
Yeah, of course.
Sophie's light, isn't she? She's 60.
Yeah, but of course there would be a bit of movement for those two if the right tournament was made, and of course I'm pretty sure that you would be have you in mind for those plans.
It's been mentioned to me before, obviously this tournament a couple of times, but me and Adam actually had a chat the other day and he said, you are a bantamweight, you are 118. Obviously in my career so far I've done 118, 119, I've went up to super bantam, see how we felt. I've done it all. I am a bantamweight, so I think we'll see obviously what opportunities rise, but for now, like my next fight will be at bantamweight and we'll see. I want to stick to one weight and see what happens.
What's the dream? Because obviously everyone wants to be a world champion.
Of course.
But are you thinking, like my dream was world champion, that was it. Are you thinking multi-weights?
I'd like to be able to do 2 weights, definitely, because I've boxed already at super bantam and bantam. So, and my last 2 fights were both against, well, especially the 4th fight, was against, she was ranked 8th in Europe. And she come at me like Golovkin.
She did, yeah. You dealt with her very well, by the way. So I don't think you were expecting that.
No, not at all, because we were told something different about her. Charlie'd watched footage and she was completely different. She come at me like an absolute train. So round 1, I lost and I was like, what the hell? And then I use my the way I fight is quite, got that boxing move style, you know, the movement, but instead I just boxed her head off, especially round 4. I made sure that she didn't touch me and I wasn't going to leave it to like make, because it's for a 4-rounder, all she's got to do is try and nick 2 rounds and that's it, she gets off a draw. It's very difficult.
Of course.
So I had to make sure that I boxed a perfect fight after the round 1 just to make sure I got that win.
Even like the 6s and the 8s are dangerous territory as a pro, because you start slow. Like TJ Dehenny, drop points in an 8.
Even more so for females with only 2-minute rounds.
2-minute rounds,
Exactly.
yeah. And I know you don't like those.
I'm yet to actually go the distance in a 6th round. I've been scheduled for 2 and obviously both by knockout. So I'm looking forward to when I can go, because I think I only get stronger. So, and I grow in confidence as the fights go on. And yeah, it's frustrating with 2 minutes. You can't plot things, and you can't really set things up. And actually, if you go down to the body and you really start hurting them, unless you get that proper punch, they've got time to recover because the bell's gone and it's back to the corner again.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the longer rounds. It will suit me a lot better.
How soon do you think that'll happen, if it will ever happen?
What, 3 minute rounds?
3 minute rounds
I
for
don't think it
females?
will happen.
No?
No. I don't think. I wish it would. It would suit me perfect, but I don't think it will happen.
It is like, you get, as a male, 3 minutes is a long enough time. And if you hurt someone in the first minute, you get a count. You have another 2 minutes to try and get rid. If you hurt someone in the first minute as a female, the count happens, and then someone can just run around and hide and hold on for another
45 seconds, whatever,
Yeah.
and then you're safe.
It's difficult.
It's all to do with, they say women hold less water.
So concussion, like
So more chance of less water to the brain, concussion, rehydration. That's why they do it.
So that's the argument. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I
So
didn't know
maybe if there's a scientific study that comes out that contradicts the current evidence, then there'll be a case to lobby for 3-minute rounds. It would take.
It wasn't that long ago. There was an argument when Jane Couch was trying to get female boxing, and she was like the forefront of it, especially in the UK. But it wasn't that long ago when the old argument was, women have their cycle and sometimes they're angry and stuff, and it's like, this is so it's so old. I can't believe people. This was only in the 90s.
Patronising to a point of
It's
like,
mental, isn't it?
lads, sort it out, please. Yeah,
But that was the argument for a while.
Well, weirdly, we were going to have Molly McCann on last week, and just things fell through. She was actually on a period for her last fight in UFC, and she was talking about how it means you hold water and it makes making weight harder. Things that guys don't have to think about. So a lot of extra variables.
It does, believe it or not, it does play a huge factor, massive factor
in your planning. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can be bang on your weight, and then suddenly it's time of the month, and you've put on 4 kilos, and not through eating or drinking, purely because your body won't let go of any water, it's holding on.
So would you plan, if someone said to you, offer you a fight date, and you feel like, well, there's potential that I could come on then, would you actually try and say, look, could we make that? Could I jump on the fight date 2 weeks later as a result? Have you ever done that?
I'll fight for anything. I've boxed on days where the cycle has started, so it doesn't.
Blimey.
Makes it a nightmare, but you work around it. We're slowly learning the ways that the body works and things like that, and yeah, it's not ideal, but
There we are.
punch in the face isn't ideal either.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think they don't even let women do 12 rounds. It's 10.
It's 10.
10 isn't
World
it?
champions is 10, which again infuriates me. Like the WBC belt has female world champion written on it.
Pink belt as well, isn't it? The WBC has a
that's-
pink belt.
no, that's
Who has
the-
the pink one. What's that?
There's another one, yeah.
What is the pink one?
I don't know what it is, but it just infuriates me.
It's one of the organisations that has a
Yeah,
pink belt.
but to me, and I'm probably going to get stick for saying this because everyone's going to be like, you should be up for women's boxing. This is a man's sport. It is. There's no denying it. And we're always banging about equal rights and stuff. Well, then make it equal. We can't complain. Take away the female written on the belt because we're just a world champion. Once we're in that ring, who cares if you're a man or woman? You're a fighter at the end of the day. So there shouldn't be exceptions for us. We all want to fight. Stop trying to make excuses for us. Like, stop moaning, being typical women moaning. Get on with it. That's what I say.
Do you think it would take some kind of collective lobby from all of the prominent female fighters to get 3-minute rounds on the agenda? So if, say, you had Amanda Serrano and Clarissa Shields and Celia Breakhouse, and then even some of the old guard like Anne Wolfe and Layla Ali, and then people like yourself, everyone got on board with a petition or something and put it to the powers that be, do you feel like that would be the way to maybe get something on the agenda?
No, because last year was probably the highest deaths boxing's had in a long time. So I think they're going to try and do everything they can to protect fighters. And because there's science behind it, I think they would just use that and say, there's the proof. go away.
And you'd only need a career-ending injury in the 3rd minute of a women's bout within the first couple of years, and they go, well, there we go, back to.
But the same argument with steroid use then,
Right?
And it's people get lenient sentences or whatever you want to call them, bans and suspensions, but it'll take for someone to be seriously hurt by someone who is abusing the system and taking drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, before there's serious repercussions.
What do you make of like Jarrell Miller being back after a 6-month ban, signed to one of the biggest promoters in the world after the stuff that was found in his system?
It's weird to me. Like, there was a fighter recently who got banned for cocaine for 2 years. He got a ban. Now that's not actually anything that's.
But might have been. Was it 2? Was it 4? Might have been something.
It might have been 4 actually.
It was something absurd.
And
anyway.
like a £200,000 fine. That was it. 4 years, £200,000 fine. Listen, a drug's a drug. You shouldn't be taking anything. You're an athlete. You shouldn't be putting any sort of substance in your body. But that's not an a performance enhancing drug. But then to give someone like Jarrell Miller, who was pumping every single thing and the kitchen sink inside him, and he got a 6-month ban, and then signs of a decent promoter afterwards, and big welcome back parade basically.
Playing on it really, like doing the whole bad guy thing.
He's with the same promoter as me, but I think that anyone who takes performance enhancing drugs in boxing, in a sport that is so dangerous, should be banned for life.
100%.
And people talk about, oh, what about, contamination or stuff? You should be, you get the right supplements, so everything has to be approved. And what do you call the flipping?
I know exactly what you're trying. I was trying to
sport
think of the word.
informed.
Yes, thank you.
So
yeah.
it needs to be a sport informed drug or a supplement that you're taking.
Yep.
If it isn't, if it's a protein from over the counter or one of your mates, just don't take it.
Jack 3D, stop taking it.
I've known this since I was an amateur, because the regulations when I was an amateur boxing for Ireland were so strict, and we were only allowed to take certain types of vitamin and stuff. I've known this since I was a young lad. So why are people using that as an excuse to get out of it? I think if there's traces of any banned substance in your system, they need to throw the book at them. And I genuinely believe that. I was so aware as an amateur of the risks of taking something that I assumed was fine for me to take, but I didn't take it if it didn't have a sport approved sticker or logo on it.
Sport informed, yeah.
Well, I also
Sport
think
informed,
that,
sorry.
say like the people that they fight, say like it comes out afterwards, actually they failed tested. The person that's then lost that fight, they should be compensated of it, because once you've got an L on your record, you're going into your next fight, you're not going to get paid as well because you've got less value. You've also not got a perfect record anymore, so they should be heavily compensated as well, because
Absolutely.
that can be the end of it. Look at David Price. He's come up against, is it 2 drugs cheats now?
More like 3 or 4.
I think it's 3, yeah.
And that's massively tarnished his career, because he's got a few losses on his record now, and he'll probably be earning a lot more money, but because he's got them losses, the promoters can offer him less money.
Yeah,
so he should be heavily compensated for it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Thompson, Tepper, Povetkin, all popped. It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Okay, we'll be back with Shannon Courtenay just after this. This week on House of Rugby, Rory Best joined Alex and James to talk about all things rugby, including Joe Marler's misdemeanors at the weekend.
This is really important because context is the key to everything, right? In terms of context of a rugby environment, of me knowing Joe as he is, and Alan Jones
and Alan from Wales.
Yeah, Alan from Wales, knowing how they are, it's very funny, right? I found it very funny. I thought it's very, very cheeky and ridiculous. However, take that out of context of what you can't do that, and it's unfortunate, because your first reaction when you look at it level-headed is go, it's a joke, it's quite funny, he's smiling, he's not, there's no sexual intention in there, he's just winding him up. You see all the Exeter boys every time they scored were doing all the cock taps or whatever they called it, or the willy taps or whatever, they were doing all that stuff. And that's part of it, but I think it's a very fine line between saying, "Oh, it's just changing room, stuff." Donald Trump, when he said all that terrible stuff, he just says locker room. And look, I think out of context, you just can't do it. And I think it's one of those things on any other stage, behind closed doors, or training session, then everybody laughs it off. I don't think. I just think, unfortunately, you've stepped over a line into a murky thing. You can't condone that.
Cheers, gents. House of Rugby out now. Back here on TKO with Shannon Courtenay.
You're watching TKO.
We were talking about when you first sort of got thrust into the spotlight, and suddenly everyone's watching you, everyone's commenting on your videos, everyone's trying to interact with you on social media. What's that side of boxing been like for you?
At first, it was because it was all new. I was all really excited by it, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Like you're going out and you're getting recognised in Tesco's and things like that, and it was really good. And then it took its toll. And I don't mean when you're going out and getting recognised. I mean the social media took its toll, where every little thing you do, you're judged, and everyone's got an opinion, and people on Twitter are arseholes, and it took a bad effect on me massively. I got severely bad anxiety because of it. Didn't want to go on social media for a long time, and the annoying thing is everyone's so quick to slag off social media. It can be a beautiful thing, social media. It can be used in such positive ways to create really positive effects, but it's also a horrendous thing where it can create monsters out of people. And the worst thing is you sit there and you open your phone in your living room and you're actually welcoming these strangers into your house.
To tell you the truth, it's full of wankers.
It is.
Like, and loads of them. Like, when you have when something happens in your career, a couple of losses for me, they all come out and it's like, oh, leave me alone.
Have you just been waiting for this?
I know. It's like people love to be negative and put other people down. It's sad, but it's true. We talk about it all the time, but
I just still to this day I don't understand what someone gets out of it, and they haven't even got like a Twitter account. Like their picture's an egg. Like it's not even them, and you just think, well, you must be right ugly then if you've not even.
Yeah.
I personally think every single Instagram or Twitter account or Facebook, whatever, should be verified. I don't mean verified with the blue tick, I mean an address and a passport, so that if they do troll you, actually they are traceable. That will stop a lot then.
Well, after what happened with Caroline Flack, I mean, it's almost, a lot of people argue it was kind of, she lost her life because of social media and because of the backlash against 100%. Everything that happened, and she felt like she was being trialled by the public before she'd even been to court. And that is a terrible feeling when if someone says Carl Frampton's a dickhead and you look at that and it's got one like and it's your mate, you sort of laugh. But if you open that up and there's 8,000 likes on that, suddenly you feel like a big patch of the population's against you all of a sudden because that comment holds weight. It's almost quantifiable by the numbers of people that have retweeted it and liked it and given their opinion towards that. They've either supported that tweet, therefore they hate you as well and they have bad feeling against you. And I've seen some of the stuff that's been tweeted to you as a woman in boxing. You know, things about women shouldn't be doing this and why is she doing, and instantly judging you before you've even had a chance to prove A, who you are as a person, B, who you are as a fighter.
Yeah.
And of course, you as an actual human being have got to deal with that for as long as your career and time in the public eye goes on.
It's hard. People can sit there and say they're not bothered by it, and we'll probably sit there and go, of course, at the end of the day, you probably do sit there and overthink things. And like my mum joined Twitter, and I was like, get off there right now. She was like, well, when are you going to follow you? I said, that's enough. Just get off it. You don't need to see some of the vile things people write. And I'll get, like, say, out of 100 comments, 97, 98 will be wonderful. Then you get them 2 or 3 wankers, and then ones do stick in your head because as a nation, as a world, we kind of focus more on negatives than we do positives nowadays. And you do let them things affect you, and it's a horrible, horrible thing, to be honest. And all I've ever wanted to do is box. If I could just box without the business side and the social media side and just fight, because I love fighting, that'd be bliss. But it comes with territory of trying to be a role model for young girls. And I've got a little sister, Harriet, she's 13, I want to be a role model for her. But I'm terrified about her going on social media because I think, not that she's going to get what I get, but it's a vicious world out there. People need to be helped.
My ma's on Twitter and I told her to get off.
Your mum?
Yeah. And she unfollowed me thinking that I don't know what she's on. And she's still on it. She follows people like Scott Quigg.
Does she?
But not me. Yeah. I don't think she follows Christine either, but that's like...
She's trying to keep... Yeah, she thinks she's...
Christine's one of my favourite accounts on Twitter, actually. If anyone gives her shit, she's just like, fuck off. She's great.
Everyone loves her stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's a bit close to Christine, but...
If I was you, I'd be a bit worried about her and Michael Buffer. That's all I'm saying.
Her and Buffer have this great relationship on Twitter. It's brilliant. It mattered for the first time when I fought Kiko Martinez. And people don't think it is Buffer, but it is Buffer. You'll go, how you doing, Eddie? This is Eddie Hearn.
No, it's fully Michael. Like, I'm there to fight with Michael.
So, he met Christine, and his wife is called Christine too. And I think they spoke to each other when I fought Kiko Martinez, the world title. And I just got this like great connection online. They all love dogs.
Yes. Michael's rehomed like 6 or 7 rescue dogs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he loves them. Absolutely loves them. Wow, what a strange old world. Well, hopefully, just more of the positives and less of the negatives on social media.
Can we ask about? You've had some weird requests.
Oh yeah.
This gets brought up literally every interview I do.
Right, weirdest request. Just give us your top 1 or 2.
Oh, I don't even want to say
No, you
it.
can't say it. Say it.
Give us 3 or 4.
I've been offered money to to beat someone up. He's naked, but to render him, if I got a £500 bonus if I rendered him infertile.
It's like the golden contract, knockout bonus.
Infertile? What, forever?
I don't know. I didn't reply. I don't know.
He knows you can just get a vasectomy for like on the NHS.
I don't know. Obviously, it was a big spread about it in the Sun newspaper. Obviously, about the guy offered me £10,000 for my socks, which was
Oh yes.
And what did you do that?
no.
Why not?
Honestly,
I was speaking.
10 grand.
I was speaking to the producer about this.
You can send him a pair of mine, and I'll take a cut.
I would like if someone depends what if they're asking for trunks or your knickers, I would say don't do that. It's weird. If someone asks for a pair of socks for 10 grand, fucking hell.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
Send the socks. Why do you not do it?
Drop him a message. Just say, look, is the offer still there on the table? Even 5. Any others?
They're every day. They're just very.
It's so weird. Like, what do guys think is the best that's going to happen? You'll go, actually, I don't want to send you my socks. Do you want to go on a date? Like, what's their end game with
Some
that?
guy messages me like, this. I always know his account because the picture's very weird and he's like every day. And then when it got announced I was fighting in Doncaster, he was like, oh my God, I live near Doncaster. I can finally take you for that Toby Carver I've been promising you. Not that he's ever going to meet me. And then he sent me a picture of like these flowers he'd brought me, and he'd gone and got me a bracelet with my name engraved. And it was just like, and I never replied to this man. I've never ever replied. Like, it's not even accepted. So he doesn't know I can see it. And I'll just sit there, like, I'll go out with my friends and the girls will go, chuck us your phone. And they'll go, let us see. And they'll just sit there and they'll just read through all the messages. And it's just.
That's the Alan Partridge one, the stalker.
Jed Maxwell, yeah. He goes back to his house and he's just got cuttings of him all over the wall and a mannequin of him.
Yes.
Tattoo, yeah.
But you should do the socks, really. You should do that. 10
I'm
grand
not
for a pair of
doing-
socks.
I'm not
That's
doing
mental
the
that you
socks.
haven't done that.
Do you know what the worst. Not the one.
If anyone
worst
wants to
is?
ask.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if
Carl's
Carl
got the socks to say.
there must be some weirdo that
I
was
would- I would-
microfiber.
I'd probably keep a little bit of money, but I'd give most of it to charity.
I'm not doing it. Chris has got a new house, actually. He could do.
Yeah, I really could do with the money, actually. So if you can, just chuck a bit my
But
way.
some people get quite vicious about it. Like, obviously, it was well documented on Instagram that, like, me and Joe Joyce are very good friends.
Yeah.
And obviously, when he was in my camp, we were constantly messing around, and he'd constantly put videos of me up on Instagram, just like messing around. One guy was constantly like sending threats to my account, but for Joe, like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
If he goes near you, we get like.
Yeah, you better have an elephant
I
gun,
think
mate.
it
And I was
Really?
going to say, good luck.
The
Yeah,
juggernaut,
good luck with that.
really.
Yeah, I'd actually love him to turn up to your house. Be like Homer Simpson, just whacking him in the head and nothing's happening.
Joe told me a story before, and it was one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. And he'd parked his push bike outside a shop, left it leaning against the wall, and someone had stole his bike. So some kid had stole a bike. So obviously a big kid, because the seat's got to be up here somewhere.
Yeah.
So he says, like, a week later, he sees this kid and he takes the bike back off him. And I said, how'd you get it back off him? And he says, I seen him. He was cycling right towards me, and I stepped out in front of him and put my hands on the handlebars and said, "Oi, get off my bike now!" And the kid just jumped off. And I remember thinking, oh, that would scare the shit. That would scare the
Yeah, he's
shit
had
out of me.
I
PTSD ever
believe
since.
that as well.
Amazing. I love Joe.
People
Joe.
think that he's like dull or boring, or
No, he's great.
He's hilarious. He's
Very
got a big hump around you. He's not good in front of cameras.
Yeah.
He's not really given the chance to speak in front of cameras often, but he's hilarious. He's such a great guy as well.
Yeah, he's a proper good egg. Do you think he beats Dubois?
People are going to disagree with me, but yeah, I do. I think he stops Dubois late rounds.
No,
as long as he
I do.
comes through the early opening rounds, because Dubois is going to come out fast.
Of course.
But Joe's got so much more experience at that calibre of fighter as well. And Dubois, even in the amateurs and the pros, he's never come up against someone like Joe before. And Joe's unbelievable work rate in his engine, and the fact that you could hit him with a sledgehammer and you won't knock him out. His chin, it's dangerous how granite his chin is. And I just think he'll wear Dubois down and stop him late rounds.
And you have to give credit to both guys for taking it this early in their
Great
career.
fight.
It's a great fight, and it could be a fight for a world title in 2 years' time. But to be taken at this point, it's commendable to both of them.
Very worthy European title fight. Right, we have gone over time apparently, but that's how much we've enjoyed ourselves. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit of your story. It's been great. Good luck on the 24th of April.
Thank you.
Doncaster Dome is where Shannon will be fighting. You'll be watching that on Sky Sports. Massive thanks to Shannon. Cheers to Carl as well. We'll be back next week, we think, with Paulie Malignaggi in Manchester. So stay tuned and we'll see you in about 7 days' time.
You've been watching TKO on Joe.